Psychically, I'm very well endowed.
Hey there, this is Cooper from Telepathic Bunny Comics. Trying something new today, hoping to improve my sound. Now, there was a video the other day, Mark Miller, who of Authority, Jupiter Ascending, Wanted, um, you know, various different wonderful, you know, comic books that this man has written. So he's got game. I respect the game. Here lately, he's been asking the right questions, and he's been getting a lot of backlash because he's like, things are dying, and something needs to be done about it. Hold on a second. Did I know what? Tell me how the sound is going. I'm trying something new, trying to improve my sound. Let me know. Anyway, um, so let me play a clip of the video he did the other day, and he did it with a bunch of retailers. Now, these guys happen to be uh, owners of store chains. Okay, I mean, these are not like single store owners. These are guys with franchises. And so when he talks with these guys, he's talking to people who are in the belly of the beast, uh, guys who are on the front lines. And so let's see. He asked this question about midway through, and the answer he got was disappointing to say the least. Let me play you the clip.
So, and what do you think was the turning point? Because we all feel something's changed, and it was probably, for me, I would say around 2016, a turning point in people's enthusiasm, because I don't know what you guys are reading yourselves compared to what you were reading 10 years ago, but I went from reading maybe 20 books a month down to maybe one, and a lot of my friends have just stopped reading altogether. They would buy piles of stuff that just piled up in the house, and then they cancelled their orders and so on, What do you guys think was the year that happened for people?
The year, I don't know if I can put a finger on the year, but we started seeing editorial changes at Marvel probably 6 or 8 years ago, that it really took a definite lack of editorial direction in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. And DC, people love to hate on Dan DiDio and they hate to love him and all this kind of stuff. But at least it seemed like he had a cohesive publishing plan. Mm-hmm. Didn't always work the way he wanted it to, but at the same time, at least there was a plan. Yeah. And one of the challenges have been, how many people at Marvel or DC who work there have a little list in their wallet or on their phone of the back issues they're looking for? Mm-hmm. I'll bet you it is a 2% of what it was 20 years ago.
But think about this.
Fans, yeah.
But Phil, that time period you're talking about is when Marvel, in particular, as a brand, and even DC, in global terms, was the biggest it's ever been in its history. I mean, you could sell anything with the Marvel brand on it. I would see bald 55-year-old men walking around with Marvel t-shirts, like it was easy to sell Marvel to anyone, Why the hell could nobody sell Marvel comics between 2016 and 2020 when it was at its hottest, when the movies were making $2 billion?
The drop off I felt for us as a chain was when we lost all the top tier creators to Hollywood pitches.
Yeah.
I was getting people I'd never seen coming in for Saga every month. They were coming in for Sex Criminals. They were coming in. Image was on fire. They were hiring all these people and then brought new people in, and everyone was excited. I can't wait for the next one. Then all those creators got attention of Hollywood and said, bye-bye. And those books just dried up. And then it was, and that's where we saw the big drop. But I think 2016, 2017 is fair. After the initial New 52 excitement and boom, and the 2010s were fantastic. You were doing books. Fraction was doing books, the mainstream guys, and people were excited. and we lost all those creators. I always worry about old man syndrome. I'm in my mid-50s, and I don't want to be the guy that's always, I dealt with those when I was a kid going into comic stores, and you dealt with these guys. The 40s were the good time. I'm like, these comics are unreadable. Like, it's just like children wrote these. They're terrible. So I try to make sure I'm not becoming that, but I look at the creators at these A-list companies. I'm like, I don't know these guys. And there almost seems to be homogenous house style again at DC and Marvel. Instead of having the superstar artists working on these books, they've all moved off to do their own projects.
Can I just say the only way you can tell you're getting old is if your criticisms aren't sort of like in line with the numbers. So that when the numbers are cratering and you're hating it, you're right. It's nothing to do with age, So if the numbers are doing gangbusters like the early 90s and you're saying this is all garbage, you're getting old, But
yeah,
the numbers are slipping, so you're correct,
Okay. So they want to know what happened around 2016. Comics was flying high. People were everywhere. Enthusiasm was at an all-time level. And then something happened in 2016. Wonder what that was. Yes. Plus, around that time, we were getting little messages from the mainstream like this.
And if you don't like my politics, don't buy my book. Problem solved.
So, little messages like that. And so, hold on a second. These guys late to the party libs are too conservatives like Jack Dixon. These guys are never even knowing where the party is, libs. I watched the whole thing more than once, hoping for a glimmer that these guys had some sort of clue about what was going on. And it was one of the most disappointing things. They're looking on the creators in the mainstream and just ignoring the content, ignoring the messaging, ignoring what's happening to the characters, ignoring the race swaps, the gender swaps, the ideology swaps, Hell Hydra. They're ignoring all the things that we have been talking about. And I mean, Mark Miller's asking the right questions. He knows there's a problem, and he just that much. The guys that were on that panel are acknowledging, well, the cells are in the toilet. And 1 second. Well, I think it's interesting that it's only now that the mainstream has lost a lot of the ability to cancel people, to put them in the ground. Eric O'Leary, the comics book shop owner, who dared to say that the self-inserts were the main problem. And they attempted to cancel the man. And no less than about 2 years ago, his job would have been gone. His comic book shop would have been in the ground. He would have been like cut off from everything. The industry, that is. Coming to his defense, having him on his show. But the bottom line is they're still missing. They see the fire, they see the light, they see the smoke. Their fire alarms are going off, and they're like, okay, there's a fire somewhere, and they are like looking in the walls when the fire is like all around them, and it's they for all this time they've been sitting there and saying it's fine, it's fine. This has happened before in comics. It will right itself. The people who would have stuck with them long enough for them to self-correct, for them to find a way back to the zeitgeist. They drove those people off. They told them, like Kelly Sue said, if you don't like my politics, don't buy my comics. Oh, let me just go ahead and let her tell you in her own words. We've got Miss Kelly here anyway. Sorry, my stream yard suddenly took a dump.
And if you
Oh, here
don't
we
like
go.
my politics, don't buy my book. Problem solved.
Miss Kelly was on main Marvel properties at the time she said that. She had just rebooted Captain Marvel as a faux hawk wearing lesbian, hyper masculine female girl boss. And the whole industry shifted towards that model. All she did was, and somebody went through the script. My friend Dean and Kimo Sabi went through the script, and it is hilariously bad. Hilariously bad. But she got a freaking Eisner for that shit, or at least she was nominated. And they put her on Captain Marvel. Sama Amanat, patient zero for the death of the whole industry. Put her on Captain Marvel. And everything went. But that attitude, she was the first one to say it out loud. But we know other ones had that attitude. They just said, if you don't like where we're going, jump off. We're not going to stop and let you off. You can jump off. And a bunch of people said, I'm just going to get a few scrapes and bruises, but I'm going to jump off of this. Still in the industry, still getting work. Been on about every major book in the industry and created his own IPs. Has a several $1 million deal with Netflix. He's got FU money, Scrooge McDuck money, compared to a lot of creators. So he can explore this stuff. And I've watched this tweet. So, that's become the new phraseology. And yet, he's asking this question like he's completely confused as to what happened in 2016 to cause all this. And maybe he believes, or at least he understands what happened in 2016. Maybe he was serving it up for these guys to opine. And they were like, oh, no. Not going to talk, not going to touch that, not going to touch it. But the bottom line is until they correct the content, until they correct the storytelling, the writing, nothing is going to change. They can get these long-term runs on books. They can correct that, the other complaint they had. They can bring back major creators. Maybe they can, oh, this guy I used to respect is on this book. Well, let me take a look. But the bottom line is, if that star, like RTD and Doctor Who, if he brings in current day politics, current day content, and current day phraseology, it doesn't matter. I mean, I was there when the Ninth Doctor was launched and Doctor Who came back from the dead. I was there for all of it. Christopher Eccleston remains my favorite Doctor to this day, and that includes all the classics. He was my Doctor, and RTD was the showrunner. He wasn't exactly my cup of tea, but I stayed through Tenet. They brought him back. And what does RTD do? He rubber stamps everything Chris Chibnall did to destroy Doctor Who. Rubber stamped it, cemented it in stone. This is what we're doing going forward. The Doctor suddenly he doesn't spawned one by mitosis. And then, oh, let's hit the TARDIS with a hammer and create a brand new TARDIS with a chameleon circuit active in so it can change away from the police box that everybody knew. And oh, by the way, this one's not going to have a consistent costume. It's going to, change with every single week and be a fashion plate. And we're retiring the number 14 Doctor who's shuffle off into retirement. And you're supposed to accept that and eat that and say, oh, but it came from RTD. Russell T. Davis. It came from him. This is Russell T. Davis. This is Russell T. Davis. He's always been an activist. He's always, pushed the envelope into that direction. And now he's got the mandate to do so. And no oversight. What you're seeing from him right now is who he always has been. But now he's free. And now you're seeing what would happen, what he would have done to Doctor Who if he didn't have any oversight. And so, there you go. Though bringing these stars back is not the solution that these gentlemen think it is. The content has to change. Content, writing, and go, or who they sleep with, or who they're buddies with. They need to go out of the industry, back where they came from. Anti-white articles for the Atlantic and stay the hell out of comics. I saw a hardcover Ta-Nehisi Coates' Captain America collection in Barnes and Noble. Nobody's gonna pick that shit up. Nobody that loves Captain America. Oh, Captain Marvel. Oh, never mind. Captain America. Nobody's gonna pick that up. Nobody that loves Captain America, because that guy hated Captain America, wrote him into the ground for a longer run than Ed Brubaker got. Ed Brubaker, who brought Captain America back from obscurity and made him a blue chip property with his writing, and saw through Captain America turning the shield over to Bucky and it being just as good. And I never saw that coming. guy has game, then that jackass got a longer term. I'm sorry, I'm getting mixed up. Anyway, these guys are not going to save the industry until they admit that the political messaging is the entire issue. The CRT, the DEI, all of these industry mandates are the problem. I don't want a conservative shoving their politics into it either, because as soon as politics get into anything, it ceases becoming art entirely. What we're asking them to do is to go back to telling stories. You want the industry back to where it was? You're going to have to stop preaching to people and start telling stories again. And if you disagree with the politics of the character, then you just disagree with the politics, but write the character like the character is supposed to be written. Everybody has an individual truth about them. And you're an anti-gun nut writing Punisher. Anti-gun nuts have written Punisher and written him well. But that's because they kept their politics. Be an activist, but as long as you tell the damn story and keep yourself out of the art, then you can still write good stories. Alan Moore is a nutcase, but he's written some of the seminal works in all of comicdom. Some people worship the guy like a god, and I don't agree with that. But he can write, other points of view, other perspectives. He hated Rorschach, but he wrote him one up and down to shine through. And he became the breakout star of the Watchmen comic, still to this day, even though they run him into the ground otherwise. The reason why is when you just tell the damn story. It's not your story, it's the story. Don't tell your story, tell the story. And you will save the industry until these men paper and complaining about the wallpaper while the building is burning down. They're never going to understand how to correct the industry. Anyway, let's see here. When was NAM at Pop Quiz? He's never in NAM. He does this. Anyway, so this guy's grandstanding. I think they're genuinely asking questions, but they're not willing to go where they have to go because they'll disagree with some of the premises. And that's the ultimate failure. You have to go even the places that you don't want to go if you want to save the industry. And they're not willing to go there because they agree with the people that are destroying the industry right now. And they can't get over their political hang-ups long need to be asked. Anyway, Steve Epting doing the artwork. I don't even know who that is. I'm sorry. I have no idea who that is. Anyway, I'm not a big artist fetish fan. I'm mostly about the writers. You know that. Anyway, so go and watch that video. If you think go watch that video. With Brew Baker on Cap. Yeah, I think so. I think it was Steve Epting. Okay, now that I think about it. Yeah. Oh, whoever it was, that was a great run. Great run. Anyway, so the bottom line is I respect Mark Millar. I respect that he's asking the questions. I respect that he's pushing for a new direction, or at least a return to status quo, going back to where they lost the message or lost the thread. But until they all say enough is enough, ERT, DEI hiring practices, enough is enough with people coming into the industry who don't have the chops because of arbitrary characteristics. Until they're willing to say that and willing to push that, the industry's dead, and it will remain so. Even if you're asking the questions, because asking the questions but coming to the wrong answers deliberately because of your inability to go that far in that direction, to open that door where the stink is coming from. Until you talk about the content, until you talk about have nothing to do with meritocracy, you're never going to correct anything. Anyway, I kind of don't have the heart to watch that video. Well, it's got some good information in it. It's a little dry. By the way, who's the other guys? They're comic book shop owners, chain owners, some of the biggest in the game. So these are guys with multiple comic book shops, and they're missing the forest for the trees. So it was frustrating. I went into it. It's not coming back, guys. I just don't see it. They have to ask the right questions and they have to come to the right conclusions. And they just can't do it. They can't go that far. They can't look where their blind spot is. Cooper for Telepathic Bunny Comics. Thank you, all who watched this video. And I will see you next time. Hold on. Shadowpunk's still talking to me. Hold on. Freaking StreamYards. I swear. Come on. Where you at? Yep. Well, we certainly have a future. I don't know if we are the future, but we certainly have a future. I cannot get out of here. Hold on. All right. There we go. Y'all have a nice day, and remember, follow the white rabbit. See you next rabbit hole. Bye.